Imagine spending $40,000 and an entire year of your life planning the perfect dream wedding, only for your older sister to hijack the microphone during the reception, announce she's pregnant, and literally scream, "Now it's about me!" Now imagine taking that microphone right back and destroying her entire marriage 30 seconds later by revealing the baby actually belongs to her husband's best friend. Yeah, I did that. And honestly, Matt, it was the best wedding present I could have ever given myself. If you have ever had a toxic family member who simply cannot stand to see you shine for even 5 minutes, or a sibling who suffers from extreme golden child syndrome, you are going to want to sit down for this one. Because sometimes, karma doesn't just knock on the door. Sometimes, karma wears a white dress, holds a microphone, and blows the whole house down. Let's back up and give you some context on my sister, and who we will call Chloe. Chloe is 3 years older than me, and for my entire life, she has been the center of our family's universe. If I got an A on a test, Chloe suddenly had a migraine, so my parents had to focus on her. If it was my birthday, she would throw a tantrum until my parents bought her a half-birthday present so she wouldn't feel left out. You know the type, right? The kind of person who goes to a baby shower and gets mad that no one is asking about her new shoes. But I was the peacekeeper. I kept my head down. I moved out early. I got a great job. And I met my fiancé, Mark. Mark is the most grounded, incredible guy in the world. When we got engaged, we paid for the entire wedding ourselves because we wanted total control. We didn't want my parents using their money to force us to cater to Chloe. And Chloe had been married to a guy named Greg for about 3 years. Greg is a golden retriever of a human being. He's a middle school math teacher, super sweet, incredibly loyal, and honestly, way too good for my sister. He worshipped the ground she walked on, and she treated him like a personal assistant. As the wedding got closer, Chloe's behavior got worse. She complained about the bridesmaid dresses. She complained about the menu. She even tried to convince me to change my wedding date because it was too close to her wedding anniversary, which was literally a month and a half away. I ignored her. Mark and I had an ironclad rule: do not engage with the crazy. But then, about 3 weeks before the wedding, I found out the crazy was actually downright evil. I was at my parents' house for a family dinner. Chloe and Greg were there, along with Greg's best friend, Tyler. And Tyler was a groomsman in Greg's wedding. He was always around, basically a fixture in their lives. After dinner, everyone was in the living room, but I went into the kitchen to grab some water. Chloe had left her iPad sitting unlocked on the kitchen island. Now, I am not a snooper, I swear. But right as I reached for my glass, the iPad screen lit up with an iMessage notification. It was from Tyler. The message preview read, "Did you take the test yet? And if you're pregnant, Greg is going to do the math. We have to figure this out." My blood ran completely cold. It's that physical sensation where the floor suddenly feels like it's dropping out from under you. I stood there, staring at the glowing screen, completely paralyzed. My sister wasn't just having an affair. She was having an affair with her husband's best friend, and she might be pregnant. I quickly locked the iPad and walked back into the living room. And I watched Chloe sitting on the couch, laughing and resting her feet on Greg's lap, while Tyler sat in the armchair across from them, drinking a beer. It made me physically sick to my stomach. When I got home that night, I told Mark everything. I was pacing a hole into our living room rug. I wanted to call Greg right then and there. I wanted to blow the whistle. But Mark stopped me. He said, "Look, we have a wedding in 3 weeks. We have the family flying in from all over the country. If you drop this bomb right now, your parents will make your entire wedding about managing Chloe's divorce. It will ruin our day." He was right. If I exposed her then, I would lose the one day of my life that was supposed to be about me and Mark. So we made a pact. We would keep our mouths shut until after the honeymoon. We would smile, get married, and then deal with the fallout. Unless she crossed a line. Man, I told Mark, if she tries to pull focus at this wedding, if she tries to steal our moment, I am pressing the red button, he agreed. We essentially treated her secret like a loaded gun in a glass case. In case of emergency, break glass. I had no idea she was going to hand me the hammer herself. The wedding day arrived, and honestly, it was magical. The ceremony was beautiful. I didn't trip over my dress, and Mark cried when I walked down the aisle. And for a few hours, I actually forgot about the iPad. I forgot about the affair. I was just insanely happy. Then came the reception. We had a beautiful plated dinner, the drinks were flowing, and it was time for the speeches. My dad gave a wonderful, tear-jerking toast. Mark's best man made everyone laugh. Then, it was Chloe's turn. She was my maid of honor, mostly because my mother begged me to include her to keep the peace. Chloe tapped her glass with a spoon and walked up to the microphone. She was wearing a dress that was definitely towing the line of being way too white for a guest. But whatever. She started her speech, and from the very first sentence, it was awful. It was entirely about her. When I was a little girl, I always knew I'd be the first to get married. When I was planning my wedding, I learned so much. I'm so glad my little sister finally found someone. Because I was starting to worry. You could feel the audience cringing. Mark reached under the table and squeezed my hand. But then, Chloe paused. She looked out at the crowd, her face completely flushed with excitement. You know, weddings are all about family, she said. And growing a family is the most beautiful thing in the world. Greg, can you come up here for a second? Greg, looking totally confused but smiling, walked up to the stage. Chloe reached into her clutch purse. She pulled out a long, white, rectangular piece of paper. A sonogram. I didn't want to wait any longer to share our blessing, she screamed into the microphone. I'm pregnant. We are having a baby. Now it's about me. She actually said it. Now it's about me. And she threw her arms in the air like she had just won an Oscar. The room went dead silent for about 3 seconds, and then my mother squealed, and a few people started clapping. Greg looked like he had just been struck by lightning. He picked Chloe up and spun her around, crying happy tears. I sat at the sweetheart table, staring at her. She looked over Greg's shoulder, right at me, and gave me this smug, victorious little smirk. She had done it. She had officially stolen my wedding. I looked at Mark. He looked at me, gave a slow nod, and took a sip of his champagne. The glass was broken. As it was time to press the red button, I stood up. My hands weren't shaking. I wasn't crying. I felt a level of cold, calculated calm that actually kind of scared me. I walked up to the stage. The DJ, thinking I was going up to congratulate my sister, handed me his wireless microphone. I put my arm around Chloe. I smiled out at the crowd of 150 people. Wow, I said into the mic. What an amazing surprise. Can we get a round of applause for Chloe and Greg? People clapped. My mom was sobbing into a napkin. I turned to Greg. Greg, you are such an amazing guy. You have been a wonderful husband. And honestly, you are going to make a fantastic stepfather. The clapping slowly died down. A ripple of confusion washed over the room. Greg frowned. Stepfather? He whispered. I dropped my arm from Chloe's shoulder and took a step back, and I looked right at the table where the groomsmen were sitting, right at Tyler. Yeah, stepfather, I said, because, Tyler, you should probably get up here too, since you're the biological dad and all. Congratulations, guys. I handed the microphone back to the completely traumatized DJ, turned around, and walked back to my seat. Guys, I wish I had words to adequately describe the absolute nuclear winter that descended upon that banquet hall. The silence was so heavy, you could choke on it. I watched the color completely drain from Chloe's face. She looked like a ghost. She reached for Greg, stammering, "Greg, no! She's lying! She's just jealous!" But Greg wasn't looking at her. Greg was looking at Tyler. And Tyler? Tyler was staring at his shoes, completely frozen. He didn't deny it. He didn't say a word. The guilt was radiating off of him like heat from an oven. So Greg dropped the sonogram picture on the floor, took off his suit jacket, threw it on the ground, and walked straight out the back doors of the venue. Tyler tried to quietly slip out the side exit, but one of Greg's brothers grabbed him by the collar, and things got very physical very fast. The venue security had to get involved. My mother started having a panic attack. Chloe collapsed on the stage, sobbing hysterically, screaming that my wedding was ruined. But here is the twist. My wedding wasn't ruined at all. Once the trash took itself out, Mark and I went right to the dance floor. We asked the DJ to play Truth Hurts. A few of our friends started cheering. They joined us on the floor. And honestly, the vibe completely reset. It turned into the most legendary, high-energy party of our lives. It has been 2 years since that day. Greg filed for divorce that very same week. And he got a DNA test when the baby was born. And surprise, surprise, it was Tyler's. Greg is thriving now, by the way. He moved to a new city and is dating a lovely woman who actually respects him. Chloe's life, however, completely imploded. Tyler didn't want to be a dad, so he ghosted her. My parents finally saw her for who she really was, and while they still help her with the baby, they stopped funding her lavish lifestyle. And she tried to reach out to me a few months ago, blaming me for ruining her life. I just blocked her number. Look, we are socially conditioned to swallow our own anger to keep toxic family members comfortable. We are taught to be the bigger person, but being the bigger person does not mean letting someone else use your life as their personal stage. If someone tries to steal your joy, your moment, or your boundaries, you don't have to just sit there and take it. And hand them the mirror, let the truth do the heavy lifting, and never, ever feel guilty for exposing the dark in people who try to dim your light. Have you ever had someone try to hijack a major life event just to make it about themselves? How did you handle it? Let me know your best stories in the comments below. I read every single one. If this story gave you the petty satisfaction you needed today, make sure to hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel for more crazy revenge stories. And remember, always be careful where you leave your iPad. Catch you in the next one.